Hello to everyone. This is Viewpoint on Noyan Tapan TV and I am Benyamin Poghosyan. In this episode we will discuss the 4-day-long negotiations in Washington held between Armenian and Azerbaijani foreign ministers Arat Mirzoyan and Ceyhun Bayramov from May 1st to May 4, 2023. First of all, let's fix that this type of intensive negotiations happened only once during all 35 years of Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, and they happened again in the United States back in 2001 in Key West, when then President of Armenia Robert Kocharyan and President of Azerbaijan Heydar Aliyev held a week-long negotiations in Florida, Key West. Of course, we cannot compare these two negotiations. First of all, in 2001 there were leaders, now only ministers of foreign affairs, but however, the length of negotiations show that definitely there was a real document discussed, as was the case in Key West and as was the case in Washington. And by the way, Prime Minister of Armenia Nikol Pashinyan, during his speech in Parliament, when negotiations still were underway, he confirmed that yes, there was a document in Washington, and he said that he instructed Armenian team to negotiate within the broader political line or political framework of Armenian side. Before the negotiations started in Washington, there was a very active shuttle diplomacy implemented by high-level American diplomats, Erika Olsen, Louis Bonov, and others, who visited both Yerevan and Baku in late April 2023. The shuttle diplomacy itself was a sign that the United States put significant efforts to push forward these negotiations and hoped for some breakthrough. Of course, no one anticipated that some final agreement will be signed or even will be reached during these negotiations, but there were hopes that ministers can agree on some text which then could be signed during second European Political Community Summit. Summit will take place on June 1st, Chisinau, Moldova. Let's not forget that during the first Summit of European Political Community, which took place in Prague in October 2022, Armenia and Azerbaijan endorsed the famous Prague Declaration, agreeing to recognize each other's territorial integrity within Almaty Declaration of 1991. So, the conventional wisdom goes that if there was a statement signed in Prague during the first European Political Community Summit, why we cannot sign something bigger? Not a statement, but maybe a document, or at least a roadmap of normalization of relations, or at least principles of the future agreement on peace and normalization of relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan. So there were hopes, and definitely Americans were really well prepared. Secretary Blinken met with both ministers of foreign affairs at the beginning of talks. Then Mirzoyan and Bayramov had a meeting with National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. It was supposed that at the end of the negotiations on May 4th there will be joint statement signed and there will be joint press conference. However, we saw no statement, we saw no joint press conference, and we saw only a very short statement by Secretary Blinken. Of course, Blinken spoke about some significant achievements, some significant progress. He even stated that yes, Armenia and Azerbaijan, they were very close to sign a peace agreement. But of course, the absence of joint statement, the absence of joint press conference proved that there was no significant breakthrough in Washington. And Prime Minister Pashinyan confirmed this vision during his interview to Radio Liberty, which he gave while was in Czech Republic. So Pashinyan stated that if before Washington negotiations, the distance between Armenia and Azerbaijan on Nagorno-Karabakh, on Armenia-Azerbaijan relations was 1 kilometer, now it's 999 meters. Of course, the progress of 1 meter is also progress, but if you compare that still Armenia and Azerbaijan should go for 999 meters, it became obvious that the negotiations in Washington cannot be assessed as a success. And Prime Minister Pashinyan spoke about all those areas where there is no agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan. First of all, it's rights and security of Nagorno-Karabakh Armenians. Second, is the international presence in Nagorno-Karabakh. Third, is the international mechanism for negotiation between Azerbaijan and Nagorno-Karabakh. Fourth, it's a process of border delimitation and demarcation between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Fifth, is Azerbaijani demands regarding so-called enclaves. Sixth, the absence of any clear understanding about the guarantees of peace agreement. What is going to happen if any side will violate peace agreement? What are the guarantees? What countries? What mechanism? should be put as a guarantees. So according to Pashinyan, there are no agreement on any significant issue. And by the way, after the end of negotiation in Washington, both Armenian and Azerbaijani ministries of foreign affairs issued statement while telling that there was some mutual understanding on some issues. Both sides confirmed that still there is a serious divergence of views on most sensitive and or most significant issues. Of course, it's a little bit surprising because usually when we saw an active shuttle diplomacy to prepare a summit to achieve a breakthrough, if the shuttle diplomacy is failing, no one is going further to organize a summit because no one is interested to have a failure. So most probably Americans were sure, and they could be sure only if there were some preliminary agreements with Armenia and Azerbaijan. Yes, ministers will come to Washington, and at the end of the day, at the end of the negotiation, some document will be signed, or at least some joint statement will be signed. There will be a clear advance, there will be a breakthrough, and it will be a good base for move forward and probably even sign some document in Chisinau. Nothing this happened, which probably was a result that one of the sides backpedaled from these preliminary agreements reached with Americans during the shuttle diplomacy in late April 2023. The next round of negotiations between foreign ministers of Armenia and Azerbaijan will take place in Moscow in the second part of the May, and Prime Minister of Armenia Pashinyan will visit Moscow soon, until May 15. However, no one now believes that within these 1 or 2 weeks, Armenia and Azerbaijan will be able to overcome these significant differences regarding all sensitive issues. So now it's very difficult to hope that there will be any breakthrough also during the trilateral meeting between Armenian, Russian and Azerbaijani foreign ministers. So what may happen next? Definitely negotiation process will continue. As I mentioned, we will have a meeting in Moscow, and even without breakthrough in Washington, most probably there will be some meeting between Pashinyan and Aliyev during the second European Political Community Summit in Chisinau on June 1st, 2023. Some statement may be signed, but I don't believe, and it's really highly unlikely, that there will be any document signed during the Chisinau summit. Meanwhile, most probably Azerbaijan will use this situation to launch targeted strikes against positions of Nagorno-Karabakh Republic Defense Army, trying to justify its escalation by so-called anti-terrorist activities or anti-terrorist actions. Now Azerbaijan actually prepares the ground for some escalation against Nagorno-Karabakh Defense Army, clearly stating that this Nagorno-Karabakh Defense Army, these are illegal military units, these are terrorists, and so Azerbaijan has all the rights to launch military strikes against Nagorno-Karabakh Defense Army. So again, this is one of the probable scenarios that while negotiations may continue in Moscow, in Chisinau, Azerbaijan soon could launch targeted strikes against Nagorno-Karabakh Defense Army. It will be very difficult for Azerbaijan to enter cities in Nagorno-Karabakh Republic like Stepanakert, Martakert, Martuni, Askeran without entering to direct combat activities with Russian peacekeepers. But most probably Azerbaijan will try to use the tactics of targeted strikes and also the Salami tactics, trying to take some territories. The same tactics which Azerbaijan did in March 2022, then in August 2022, and also in March 2023, and etc. So most probably now we should wait for some escalation from Azerbaijan in Nagorno-Karabakh. Strikes and also Salami tactics trying to take more lands. And Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh Republic should be ready for this scenario. This is all for today. We will meet soon.